First, we're going to hear from April Humphrey. April has been described as a grassroots, bottom-up entrepreneur. April's pathway was not one of a get a good education, get a good job, but one of roll up your sleeves, figure out how it works, how to fix it, and just how to get it done. Over the past 19 years, April has helped pioneer International Leadership Development, Inc. and Humphrey Motivation, Inc. Her role was to organize and implement systems and curriculum in the field of business, leadership, and personal development. She was pivotal in its expansion with implementation of local, regional, and national live events and transitioning to online interfacing with clients and business alliances. She has equipped small business owners with back-end and front-end training solutions, with personnel coaching networks, audio, video, print, online, and live training events. She was invited to join a dynamic, engaged group of women up in Washington State called WOW, Women of Washington. She quickly rose through the ranks to board member, vice president, and recently completed a 2-year appointment as president of this highly influential organization. April is an accomplished public speaker on leadership, personal growth, family values, and prosperity with a purpose. Her wit, humor, and natural likability open listeners' hearts and minds to the sincerity of her intent and the value of her words and wisdom. And then next, we're going to hear from Debbie Saucedo, who's an entrepreneur and a conservative advocate. She's been a motivational speaker for many young women because of her unorthodox approach. A longtime Santa Barbara resident, she traveled extensively, 48 states in sales, and evolved through 4 different careers. She has been self-employed nearly her entire life, so that innate work ethic and entrepreneurial spirit run deep. Debbie was named Entrepreneurial Woman of the Year in Santa Barbara and continues to mentor young women. She's an ardent supporter of both Clare, Boothe, Luce, and YAF, and currently resides in Montecito with her husband and continues to oversee the management and accounting of their own rental income properties. Please join me in welcoming first April.
Well, it's nice to be able to speak here and make sure, Michelle, that we have a little riser. If you guys don't know, we're about the same height. And I remember speaking with groups of people, and I'd do this talk, and then all of a sudden I'd move over the side, and it's like, wow, there's thousands of people down on the floor. So at this height, you don't get to see much. So thank you for the warm welcome, and it's just an honor to be here to speak with you today. And I guess my business acumen is a little bit different, and Debbie and I are probably a lot alike. I was an entrepreneur from a young age, and I just didn't see myself in the role of going to college because, one, I came from a single-parent household, and that wasn't afforded at the time, nor were the scholarships available, so I just did. I rolled up my sleeve, and I went to work. And whatever I decided to do, I thought I'm going to be the best at it because my mom taught me the work ethic, and from a little bike in the beginning when you have corn in it, traveling around from house to house selling it. Everyone gets their start somewhere. But as I grew, I never really quite understood. It's like, what is it that I want to do when I grow up? And I don't know that I've actually figured that out. So I was really impressed with the panel when they asked you what you wanted to do in 5 years that you actually knew, because I'm not sure where I'll be in 5 years, but I know it's going to be an exciting way to get there, and I know it's going to be exciting, the people that come along. But when I did that, I was raising 2 children, and I have a husband who's incredibly supportive that allows me the freedom to go ahead and pursue my little interests. So my kids were grown, and I decided that I wanted to try my hand at politics. And right away, that was real interesting. And I realized that I had to have this base of people, I had to be able to raise money, and then it got to the point where you had to have this thick skin that people were gonna say bad things about you. Most weren't true. And so fortunately, growing up, I kind of got up with the School of Hard Knocks. That's the one I graduated from. And so I understood that I could take some of that and run with it. But politics really didn't actually transpire for me. That's why I understood that I'm not sure where I'm ever going to be, but the road opened up to being able to help candidates. And that's where I found my niche, from being a fundraiser, be able to help on their campaigns. And since my business background, I had so much information. I mean, I could put on a travel agent hat if you need me to do that. I can, edit your video. I can shoot a video. I mean, whatever it might be, if you want a magazine done, I can handle that for you. So I could help out in all kinds of ways, and I just decided to get involved. And so I encourage you, it's like you're activists on your campus, but there comes a time that you're going to be in your community, or maybe it's your parents that are around, or other students that you have, but how to help them get involved as well. And it can be just the littlest thing. We have a group that we started in Washington called Women of Washington. I'm very proud of these women. They're just courageous women in business that we all got together, and it really started on a street corner. No, not that kind, but it was during the Bush campaign. And if you're from Washington, one, it's just not cool to be a conservative to begin with, but we lived on Mercer Island, which was even more so that way. So it started out that we'd have yard signs, and they'd disappear overnight, just surprise. And so it gets pretty costly in a campaign to keep making these signs. So fortunately, we were good donors and we could get all of our signs. And then I thought, darn it, I'm just tired of that. So some people set up watch. We had little, binoculars in the woods to see who did it at night, because our island is very wooded. And we would live down the hill, island up here, hill down, and the houses are down around the bottom here. So, after catching a few people, they were kind of turned off about doing that, so we were getting a little bolder, and so we decided to stand with our signs for Bush. Well, I incorporated my 2 dogs, my 2 kids, and my husband, and I have this huge English Mastiff. He's about 200 pounds. So, people just want to see what that is. Is it a small lion? What is that thing? And so as we're doing this, you would get the, occasional little honk honk, but they would be down below the window, kind of giving you a thumbs up like this. So it's like, okay, there's more than just me, right? And then, we did get the "you're number one in my life" salute quite often as well. For those of you that you could ask the young people, they probably might know what that is. Although you guys did surprise me. I am still really curious about what a sex carnival is. I mean, that one really, that really threw me. I'm like, I must have been out of it for quite some time. But, through that organization, we started with just getting together and talking about our beliefs that we had. And then we would talk to somebody else about it in our community. And then we started to have, coffee, meeting at a local coffee shop and talking about it. And, for us, we had to be quiet about it because everybody in the coffee shop does not agree the way we do. So we took it to our homes. And so we got a few more people interested. And then it started growing. And so before you know it, we had to become a nonprofit. We haven't been audited. That was, I think, before. And we actually, I think, have structured some things pretty intelligently. So we're an educational group. We're not a political group, and we're not a Republican group, and we're not a conservative group. We're an education group. And we invite people in. We've had the benefit of partnering here with the Clare, Boothe, Luce Policy Institute and getting some of their wonderful speakers. Star Parker has been out. Kate Obenshane has come out to speak with us. Michelle Malkin, we had her early on, and people were like, how do you know these people? And it's like through great partnerships was really how you start developing your little niche. So we've grown to hundreds and hundreds of members all over, and they want to do chapters here and there. We have a complete board, so we had to get organized if we wanted to grow. We figured we had to do that. But everything has been from a volunteer level. We have no paid employees in our group, but we find people that are like-minded that can do web development. Somebody's the editor of the newsletter, and we've been able to transition to 4 different presidents. So the group is onwardly and growing, and we're just constantly looking for new people that in the community that can affect change. A lot of our members didn't know how to start to do anything because we wanted to empower women to have a voice. We would go around, and if you go to any big business meeting, you'd have men are asking all the questions, and the women would just sit there because they were embarrassed or they didn't exactly know how to articulate what that question would be. And so we wanted to give them that voice and that power. So we've had nuclear physicists come in too, because so they could understand, energy. We've had people come in for voting. We've had all kinds of national politicians that come through, talk show hosts, anybody that can help them find what it is that they're interested in and be able to go talk to people about it. I'm really proud of the YP group we have. It's our young professionals because, like all of you here at Clare, Boothe, Luce, you know, the power is our young people. And we felt that we really needed to pour into them. So as they came in and were members, they're full-fledged members with us. Some sit on the board as well. And we're able to be mentors. They can be mentored in business, and some of them have started into politics as well, being appointed on boards, working in communications, and they're very involved and active. So we're just so excited. I mean, I'm so hopeful for the future. I don't have an outlook of doom and gloom. You know, with the young people that are here, I think you that are my age probably, it's very refreshing. But it's not just in this room or in California. I mean, it's in Washington State for those of you that are out there. They're all doing a good work, and I'm just excited to see everybody grow and where we can take this. So thank you so much.
I feel really tall up here. Oh my gosh. One of the reasons I think Michelle may have asked me to speak, I haven't done anything spectacular in my life, but I did start some small businesses, and small businesses are the backbone of the United States of America. We need them, and we need more women entrepreneurs starting these businesses. First of all, I am adopted. Now, is there anyone else here that's adopted? One? None others? I'm not surprised. I know that we have killed over 5 million. So my birth mother, I was very privileged to find out when I was 44 my nationality and my health history, but my real mother is my mom. And I was reading this, What Women Really Want, our speakers later this afternoon, and they referred to their mom as their adopted mom. No, that's my real mom. At an early age, growing up in Nebraska, I did a couple of years at the University of Nebraska in Lincoln. And yes, I am a college dropout. It's not really always for everyone. And it was the best thing I ever did, because the minute I got out into the real world and started to work, I realized that the things I thought I wanted for my major, I hated. I thought I wanted to do some things that were deep study in the office, interpretative jobs. I couldn't stand being behind a desk. I couldn't stand sitting at a computer all day long. It wasn't in me. I realized at 19 that I needed to be out among other people. I am a people person. That's just the way it is. Sales proved to be a perfect outlet for me, both in traveling the country and later in real estate here in Santa Barbara. Now, yes, I have been self-employed almost my entire adult life because I just figured, being a college dropout, no one's going to hire me. So I better be a little bit creative here. One day, though, someone offered to pay me for my baking. I was totally shocked that someone would pay me to do something I love to do. So I started a wholesale bakery. That was at the age of 40. I was the least likely person to succeed, not only because I am a college dropout, but at the time I had never been in the back of a bakery in my entire life. I had zero money at the time, which I'll explain why later. I had never been to the Culinary Institute. I didn't even know what the minimum wage or OSHA requirements were. But I was a math major, and I had a great background in sales. And I do believe if you can balance a checkbook, you can do a lot more than you realize. And I was doing something I love to do. Luckily, I did have some great advice. Never, ever go retail, and never have a partner. At first, all I had was a hand mixer and a few recipes, so I sublet a kitchen from a caterer for $300 a month. I could only use this 250 square foot kitchen from 11 at night till 12 noon the next day. Now, at this time, my husband and I were barely newlyweds. My first husband had died, and I met this wonderful, spiritual, God-loving man when I was in real estate. Well, we're barely newlyweds. I tell him every night at 10:30, well, I'm going to work. But I married a very, very special man who believes we all need that chance to fulfill our dreams and aspirations. It was never, Debbie, it's the bakery or me. Never. Choose well. Within 7 short years, well, now after that, going to work at 10:30, I finally did get my own location after 6 months. But even after that, I got up at 2 a.m. every single day because I needed to be at the bakery by 3 when the shifts changed. Within 7 years, I did have Santa Barbara's largest wholesale bakery, over 40 employees, multi-million-dollar business, and certainly was named Entrepreneurial Woman of the Year. But it was not without great gratitude to many people that inspired me along the way. And one of them was our own local resident, Kathy Ireland. She has done an amazing job as a woman entrepreneur. She has reinvented herself many times, and she was a faithful, loyal customer who encouraged me to actually open up a cake division. She loved our cakes so well. I ended up doing up to 18 wedding cakes alone just on a weekend. Not myself. After this business sold to an unsolicited sale, I just got a call one day. Someone wanted to buy my business. It sold to the founders of Bristol Farm grocery store chain, which was out of Los Angeles at the time. And I went on to help found a local women's food organization. We found we had more entrepreneurs in this organization than they had in New York City. And Julia Child, bless her heart, was a faithful supporter. We're very fortunate to have some amazing people that live right here in Santa Barbara. Now, before the baker, I had some unfortunate circumstances after my first husband died, leaving me with tremendous financial burdens. I ended up losing everything. Everything I had worked so hard all those years in sales. This is before the bakery. This was probably, ironically, one of the best things that has ever happened to me. God closes one door and always opens another. I became a born-again Christian. And in my deepest, darkest moments, I realized that I had never been alone. God has always been there. This also gave me a whole new perspective on what is really important in life, and it certainly is not all of these things that we see so thing-driven in our media for young people now. God has helped me to believe in myself. We are all of us, God's special children, and He wants us all to aspire to our true potential and have that joy of living. I will share with you, I went on later to be president of a local Republican women's group here. This was in 2011. We were all floundering then, but we had a very big election coming up in 2012. So we really came together, this group, and certainly did not do this myself. We had some amazing members, and we all just kind of fed off each other. It became the fastest growing Republican women's group in the entire state of California. And it was the 10th fastest growing for a club that size in the United States. By Christmas of 2011, and who knows why this happened, as I mentioned, we were all, many of us, we had people like Catherine Engelbrecht, many of them, we were big donors to some of those things. I got a letter, Merry Christmas, you're being audited by the IRS. Now, I will share with you that our tax return is pretty much the same every single year. So there was no reason for this. They found nothing, but they do make your life difficult. I will share with you what Catherine said about True the Vote. One of the most important things any of us can do here in this room. You can go down to your local election office and you can systematically purge the records of all of the dead people. Even if you have family members who recently died, do you know what? They're still on the voter rolls. They're still there. Do you know how many dead people vote? Do you know how many people sometimes vote from the same address? 40 people from one address? Really? This was many of the things that we orchestrated to help in our little community. Just purging that voter roll alone can make a big difference. I encourage you all to search in your heart your true forte in your life. We all share this earth for a very, very short time. Let's make it count.
Thank you, Debbie and April. See, there's so many different paths in life that you all can take. There's not really just one way to do it, but these two ladies have some interesting stories. We have a little bit of time for questions. Any questions here for the ladies? Yes, wait for the mic here, because this is being taped.
As a woman, I feel like, especially as a young woman, it's really intimidating sometimes to become involved in politics because it really is a man's world. I think in the political field, I think we're seeing more of a movement in that right now. But what do you think is the biggest challenge you faced as a Republican woman, and how did you deal with that challenge, becoming involved in politics?
I don't see I actually had one because it was who I was in my core. And since the way I grew up, I wasn't afraid of what you said about me, that type of thing. So I just took it in stride, knowing that full well the critics are going to come and they're going to say what they're going to say. And no one's ever going to like everything you do, but I just had to be true to myself. So I just stepped out on faith. And every step that I made, it was just a decision to go ahead and move my agenda forward and not let them get in my way.
I didn't feel too much of the sexist thing really at all. I may have when I was in business, though. There is a little bit of the good old boys thing going on in some areas. And I think it can exist everywhere. But I was amazed when you step forward, just like Nicole has done here, even on her campus, you will be amazed how many people have just been waiting for you or someone to step forward so that they don't feel alone. And that is how we grew our organization was by reaching out to people and making them feel like California or Santa Barbara or our county. We just start assuming after a while because of the media that we've lost, that everyone's a liberal, and we have to start speaking up somewhere. And on our local plane, in our community, in our personal friends and relationships. We need to start somewhere like that.
You're two self-made, tremendously successful women. How important was mentorship to you along the way? Did you have people that stepped up and helped you at critical times?
I would say I owe all my success to a mentor. Everybody needs somebody, that they can, one, bounce an idea off of. And we kind of lived in our family that don't do anything the first time without checking type of thing, because you can eliminate a lot of problems and be a question asker. If you ask a lot of questions of different people and see how that has shaped their life, you can choose who is on your path as far as your core beliefs and where you're going to, and you'll always find a mentor. There's so many, whether it's a woman or a man in your life, that are there to help you along the way. But mentorship is key to really plug in to find somebody, because it's the power of two. When you have two people together and then that strand can't be broken as easy as one, you'll find great strength in whatever field that you want to go into.
I think sometimes you do need to seek out these mentors. Certainly, just hearing Catherine as an example speak today, in many ways, unless you really have a conversation with her, you're probably not ever going to be aware of what really has made her, given her the strength so far in her life to carry on through near bankruptcy and even losing her husband. So I think sometimes mentors, we need to see someone that we look up to and really search them out. They don't just come.
My question is for Debbie. I'm wondering, as a small business owner, what do you think about the idea of raising the minimum wage?
That is, let me share with you, that is about the most ridiculous thing I can possibly imagine. Everyone needs a beginning wage. And let me share with you, most of my employees were Hispanic. And that was, I don't mean just from Mexico, they were from South America. My employees, every single one of them, if they worked for me for a year, they all of them had health insurance. They all had dental insurance. If they worked for me for 1 year, everyone got a paid vacation, even if it was the dishwasher. And my key employees were all on profit share. I do believe everyone needs to be treated like a human being, and I did not need the government to tell me this. Now, this is going to be taken away, and because of minimum wage, many of these companies, and McDonald's is a good example, they're going to discontinue their scholarship program. They will be discontinuing free daycare. They will be discontinuing helpful transportation for their employees because they're not going to be able to do it. You need a beginning wage for everyone. That's where you begin, and that's where you work up from. So minimum wage, it's really sad. It's a travesty. And we will see, sadly, terrible results from this.
And it hurts the ones at the bottom the most, right?
Yes,
because
it does.
when you lack education and skills, you want to get job experience so you can move up the ladder. I've read McDonald's is going to robots in a number of places.
Oh, yes.
Where, $15 an hour, your Washington State stuff. Mm-hmm. Robots are cheaper.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's not too helpful, is it? Yes, here.
I'd like to point out that Debbie, when she was president of the Republican Women's Club, reached out to other Republican and conservative groups. So often we're disparate, we're in different groups arguing with each other. She attended all the meetings of all the other Republican and conservative clubs, a Tea Party group. We were able to get together and sponsor debates, candidate forums, and this is what conservatives, Republicans need to do, and she did a wonderful job.
Right, huge impact. It's great. Yes. This is the last one?
Sure.
Or no? Okay.
My last. Okay. Well, thank you both for sharing your stories. I think it's really interesting just to hear where older women have come from and the different paths that they've taken. My question is, as a young woman, I've often heard the whole idea that we can't have it all, that we can't have both family and career. And I was just wondering, do you feel like you've ever sacrificed your family for your career or your career for your family? And what do you think of the concept of having it all?
Just to add on one thing, too, on the minimum wage, our states had this great thing with that, too. But they started organizing, by the way, and started flooding our city council. So if you want to get involved, you can get involved in your cities to start having the right people on city council, because they're the ones that pass whatever the minimum wage is. So just in case you need a new place. But on your question, I think you can have it all. I mean, some of the books have been written, and they could be from a more liberal point of view, and sometimes people don't like hearing that. Now, for myself personally, I had to judge what was most important to me at the time. I grew up as a career woman, and I grew up where it was the women's lib thing, and you had to succeed and get ahead. But I didn't want to put my family second, because if I was going to have children, I felt that it was my responsibility to raise my children, because who better to impart everything into them but me? I didn't want to hire that out to somebody. I wanted to be the one that was there when they took their first step. You know, I wouldn't want them to go somewhere else and not, say my name and somebody else heard that first. So I made a conscious choice where I started working from home. And I think workplace is so much more flexible now for us as women that we can do part-time work at home, and if you have to travel to an office, you can do that as well. But I felt like at this point I have had it all. My children are still my best friends. So we have an incredible relationship, and I have a feeling if I had put them aside and just worked, I may not have that today, but yet I've been able to succeed in business far beyond my wildest dreams. So I do believe you can have it all. You just have to be a very good balancer.
And there's so many factors, I think most of us agree, once you have babies, the babies have to come first in your life. They even come before your husband. You'll learn this, ladies, and they learn this quickly, too. But then, do you have a husband that steps forward and helps? Do you have a mother who lives across the street for 25 years? Do you have healthy babies, or, do you have babies that have issues? How much energy do you have? There's so many variables. It's just amazing what you can do. But I do think we all agree, once you have babies, they have to come first. But you can do an awful lot more, as you did, with the babies at the same time.
I would also say, and Michelle, you are certainly the perfect person to answer this question that you've just posed here. But I would say to you, because I spent so many years traveling, and yes, I've probably been to every town in the United States if it was 3,000 people or more, which is kind of puts tire marks on your body. But don't wait too long. If you do want a family, don't do like I did. I waited too long, and when I realized I met the right man, we really desperately wanted to have children, it was too late. Now, yes, we could have adopted, but my husband's had Parkinson's for 30 years, and we were on the bottom of the list he'd only had it 5 years at that time, but don't wait too long.
Debbie, tell them what you were doing, what you were selling as you traveled the country.
It was a mom and pop business. It was my first husband. He immigrated here from Germany, and we sold printing devices to the property and casualty underwriters. And with these devices, we showed them how to prevent errors and omission claims and lawsuits. So we were a big, big name in the independent insurance agent industry.
Have any of you younger ladies, or not so young ladies, thought about starting a small business of your own? Have you thought about that? There you go, Nicole, I knew you would have. Sometimes you study something in school, or you don't quite finish, and life is very interesting. You go in different directions. I studied psychology and got certification to teach little kids, which is such a noble profession. But I quickly learned it wasn't quite for me. I mean, a lot of what we do at Clare with Luce is education, but sitting in a classroom with 30 little ones, it just wasn't God didn't make me a teacher, but God gave me lots of other gifts. So, I mean, I totally shifted my career path. And that happens sometimes. You can't anticipate sometimes. And a lot of you ladies that want to go on to law school, well, I did that too. And there's so many different paths you can take. And I don't know, it was maybe Margie who said, did you say the most important decision you make in the next 50 years is who you're going to marry? If you marry, and not everybody's meant to marry, but that's really true, is it not? Is it not? And that can shift what you do as well. So it's hard to know how it's all going to turn out. I mean, when you were the age of these young women, who knew, right?
No idea.
Right. Any more questions? Well, I think we can take about a 2 or 3 minute break before our next speaker, but don't go far because she's going to be wonderful, Rachel Campos Duffy. Thank you so much, April and Debbie.